Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this, video on business soft skills. Skills that make you hireable and desirable in a job market. All right. And this lesson is unique because it's going to be designed for both my seventh graders and my eighth graders. And we're going to go through and do some activities that apply to both. But for my eighth graders, we're going to take things a step further in a future lesson, okay? And we're going to dive deeper into some of the overall broader concepts. And I'll go over with those with you when we get there, all right? And then if you're in my seventh grade class, we might do things a little bit different, but you'll get the idea once we get moving forward, and I'll kind of explain things. All right, so let's move forward. What exactly are soft skills? And what do I mean by making you hireable and desirable in a job market? Well, to start things off, have we ever worked in a group or a group assignment, and there's always that one person that just gets along fine with everybody, wants to make everybody happy. When they get to the group, they're always happy and excited and wanting to work hard. And then there's always that one person who's like, I hate groups. Oh, man. Another group of some. I'm just going to put my head down and go to sleep, right? Well, there are different, what they call interpersonal skills or characteristics that are in play at that moment, all right? And we're going to dive into what those are. Now, how do those skills how do they differ from, say, skills that tell you can do something? Example, if I can run a certain speed or run from point A to point B in a set time period, is that the same skill as being personable with everybody, right? Well, we're going to look at that in more detail. All right, so the big ideas here. What skills can I or you use to be a better student or coworker? Yeah, we're still in middle school, okay, so we still have our student lives to look at, but we're also transitioning, right, and starting to think about transitioning to our first jobs, part-time jobs, or what have you. Some of y'all, when you get to high school, will have part-time jobs, okay, at the age of 16 or 15 or 18. Some of y'all might even work full-time on a work-study program at the high school, okay? And some of you may not get your first jobs until you're well off in college. Each person is different, right? But there are skills that are applicable, right? Both on the workforce and in the classroom. And we're going to look at that. We're going to look at what the difference is between a hard skill and a business-related soft skill. In fact, that's what this first lesson is really going to be about besides the introduction. All right, and I kind of briefly already mentioned that, so I won't focus on that too much longer. All right, for my seventh graders, if you're in seventh grade, right, we're going to be looking at the standard that deals with 0201, all right, and the question that goes along with that are, what are some characteristics I or you can use to be a better student or coworker? That's easy, right? And then, ooh, look at all of these right here. Oh my, oh my, oh my. We got a lot of different standards that are covered here, and they can be answered kind of given into with these two questions. What is the difference between a hard skill and business-related soft skill? And what skills can I use to be a leader in my chosen career? Now, not every leader is going, hey, follow me, I'm the leader. That's not what leadership really might be, okay? In some cases it might be, but in reality it's not, right? It's a lot more in depth than that. So when I say a leader, there might be somebody who's on the work team who's really, really good at a specific task. That makes them a leader at that task, right? Or somebody who thinks a little differently than somebody else, and those thinking processes might be a little bit more on par with what the business is looking for. That's leadership, ladies and gentlemen. All right. For my eighth graders, all right, you can see the standards there. I'm not going to read the standards, but we are going to read the questions. What are soft skills or interpersonal skills, and how do they affect the classroom or workplace? Okay, how do people affected by our soft skills and our characteristics, and how do they affect the workplace? What can I or you do to be a better coworker, a better student, or a better team player? Okay, and then which soft skills or aptitudes will help me in my future career or career pathway? Again, Mr. C already knows these answers, right? I'm looking for you, okay? Which soft skills and strategies will help create a positive working environment? That's a good one. And then what skills and strategies will help manage conflict in the workplace? Manage conflict in a group in the workplace. Believe it or not, you're not going to get along with everybody that you work with in the future, right? So how are you going to overcome that? Are you just going to give them attitude and be like, well, you don't like me, so I ain't going to like you? Well, that's fine, all right? That might work, but is that the best way to handle it? Okay, we're going to examine that, all right? All right, let's see here. Ooh, we have videos. All right, so just a quick explanation of these videos. These videos will be sprinkled in throughout the lesson, but we're going to play video 1 and video 2. They're 2 short videos here. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut myself off, cut the video feed here in just a second, and we're going to watch that first one. I'm going to come back and kind of point some things out about it, and then we're going to come back and work on the second one. I'm going to point some things out before we watch it, and then I'm going to point some things out after we watch it. So here we go. Now, real quick, I wanted to point out a couple things here on the video. Did we notice, let me fast forward to it here, I believe it's right here, right? Oopsie. Stop, I'm on pause here, buddy. Alrighty, let's see here. There's always been a challenge in intersecting, all right, crossing over, the skills that candidates possess and the skills that employers require. In other words, sometimes employers are thinking, what's my ideal person that I want to hire? The word is candidate when you get to the 8th grade, right? And what do we want them to do? Okay, and sometimes you have to make sacrifices as the employer, right, about who you bring in, because there's not going to be the perfect person that's out there, right? So hard skills, all right, hard skills. It says here, if you didn't have a chance to see it, hard skills are measurable. Quantifiable means measurable. You can put a number behind it, right? And can be taught in a classroom or gained from on-the-job experience, okay? That's interesting. We'll dive into that here shortly and see what that means, okay? And then over here it says soft skills, okay? And then over here it says these relate to a way a candidate interacts with people, including other colleagues and customers. Okay, how they interact with people. That's really, really important, right? All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to queue up the next video. But as I'm queuing this up, I want you to keep something in mind here, all right? I want you to think about what it means to have patience and what it means to have delayed gratification. All right, patience and delayed gratification. And what do I mean by that? Okay, well, we're going to dive into that here shortly. Okay, so we're going to play the video, and then we're going to dive into the idea of patience and delayed gratification. So here we go.
We now have very hard evidence that you have to have soft skills in order to succeed. The dimension of success in American life has been the test score, the IQ test score in particular, but also an achievement test score like the SAT. If you get a high SAT, then you get to Harvard. If you get a low SAT, forget it. Should that be?
So, in schools, that's what we're taught. If you do well on a test, you'll do well in life. Or at least that's what we kind of think that we're teaching, right? And a lot of the public believes, hey, that's what we teach, right? But is that the way? Just because you do well on a test, does that mean that you'll be successful in life? Now, a test, is that measurable? Absolutely, you're measuring performance, how well you performed on something, right? But is that related to a soft skill? Well, for those that have to study hard, there might be some studying involved and some concentration. But what about the people where they just like, yeah, I already knew this, let's just go through it and take this and we're done, right? Did they have to study hard for it? Okay. So if you're saying no, then there must be something else outside the test score that makes us, well, people have good characteristics, good employees, that sort of thing.
Be the main measure of a person. No. It's important, but there are other skills that are just as important. These are the non-cognitive skills, sometimes called soft skills, that have to do with sociability, the ability to communicate, to get along with others, the ability to have self-control. You've probably heard about the famous test of Walter Mischel, the marshmallow test. He gave these little kids marshmallows and said, here's a marshmallow, you can have it. Now, if you're willing to wait, say 20 minutes, you will get a second marshmallow, but you have to wait to eat the first marshmallow to get the second marshmallow. So some of the kids couldn't wait, they ate the marshmallow, others waited. 20 years later, Mischel follows them up. The ones who waited for the marshmallow, what happened to them? Higher test scores, they graduate high school, they go on to college, they're successful in a number of dimensions. So these traits of self-control, deferred gratification to be the term, those turn out to be predictive. Now we've understood that these soft skills actually have hard effects, that they're as important, and in some areas more important for success than just straight IQ. Sounds very touchy-feely, very soft, but it isn't. And that's the part. We have a growing body of evidence that shows that these factors matter, they predict, and the wonderful news is they can be improved. Soft skills are very important because they actually lay the foundations for then later learning.
So a couple things I wanted to point out there. Did you notice that? Delayed gratification with the marshmallows. You know, Mr. C remembers that when I was in preschool, and how do I remember something from preschool? Well, because I have a decent memory, right? But I remember in preschool, the person that ran the preschool tried to do that test, do the Rochelle test, and wanted to find out how individual students would react. And I remember getting the marshmallow and looking at it and thinking really hard, do I want the marshmallow? Do I not want the marshmallow? I'm not really a big fan of marshmallows. But, you know, hey, it's there. And so I said, hey, are you sure that if I leave another one of these, I'm going to be able to go back and get a second one if I just leave that there? And the guy was like, yeah, sure. I was like, okay. So I walked away, went and did something else. And after that time was up, I came back to it. I was like, hey, there's a second marshmallow. Cool, right? But I didn't eat the second or first one. Why not? Because it had been sitting on the table for a little bit. You get the idea, though, right? So I had that delayed gratification, right? Think of it like this, right? Delayed gratification. All right. Have you ever eaten Totino's pizza rolls? All right. If you haven't, that's okay. Okay. But Mr. C used to eat Totino's pizza rolls when I was younger, right? And throughout high school and, you know, even in my 20s and such, right? Yeah, I like Totino's pizza rolls, right? You could put them things in the microwave, and then in like 2 minutes, you got something that like is kind of mushy, cheesy, and what have you, and then, you know, kind of sticks to your mouth, and sometimes the microwave doesn't cook it all the way. You get like partial frozen ones, you know, but they're decent, right? But when you stick those things in the oven, right? They're like crispy, and they're like tasty, and they're like, wow, it is so much better when I cook these in the oven as opposed to the microwave, right? However, how long does it take for them to cook in the oven, right? Well, in the microwave, you just cook it for like 2 minutes and 45 seconds, done, right? But in the oven, you know, like 20 minutes, I guess I gotta go do chores or something, right? And so, yeah, you have to wait a little bit longer. But the experience of eating it is that much better. That's delayed gratification, okay? Is that something that you can measure on a test? Nope, sure not. All right. So let's see here. Let's see where we're going to go from here. I'm going to put this thing on pause, and then we're going to go to our next section while I transition over. All right, this next video, I'm going to let this one play out till about halfway through or partway through, and then we're going to come back to the second part for the second part of the lesson. All right. I'm going to go ahead and after these few comments here, I'm going to go ahead and step to the side. What I want you to think about is looking at the video and look at what they point out, okay? Look at the word measurable and think, okay, how fast can I do something? Or how easy is it for me to prove that I went to a class? Now, is that the same as, hey, I'm a leader, okay? Or I'm a good listener, or I'm a patient person. Okay. Now, this video is delivered by what they call career coaches. I think they're somewhere in Texas or Arkansas or something like that. So they have a funny accent, but that is what it is. It's kind of lame in its delivery, but I think overall, though, the content is really, really awesome. So I'm going to let this play out for a little bit, and then I will catch you at the beginning of the very next, well, I'll call it episode, the very next part of this video series.
Hey, I'm Kelly.
I'm Caleb.
We're Calhoun Career Coaches, and today we're going to talk about soft skills.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us for The Soft Truth. What do employers look for in employees?
In this session, we will discuss the definition of a soft skill as well as their roles in the workplace.
At the end, we'll give you an opportunity to conduct a self-assessment to help guide you in the right direction. So what are soft skills anyway?
Great question, Kelly. Let's look at this typical employment advertisement. Does anything stand out to you?
As you read over it, you'll notice that there are actually 3 specific soft skills mentioned in this ad. This particular employer is looking for someone who's organized, dependable, and has good communication skills.
So, there are several qualities that employers are looking for. This diagram gives us a visual of the professional skills that are mentioned most often. You see that teamwork, flexibility, and independence appear quite frequently.
So now we're moving more towards the true definition of a soft skill. Soft skills, or otherwise known as professional skills, are imperative to success in the workplace. They often refer to how you relate to others. They're consistent for every job, and they're hard to measure, but they're easy to recognize. Notice they're not things that are directly taught in school. Let's look at a few examples. Okay, here are some others to add to the list. Being a good listener, having, of course, those effective communication skills that we've already addressed, being dependable, neat, friendly, organized, prompt, fair, and being a hard worker are a few other examples that we can consider.
Now that Kelly has described soft skills, no one is going to hire you without the hard skills. So, let's talk a little about what are hard skills. Our first hint is here in this cartoon. Check it out. The interviewer is asking the potential employee to showcase a hard skill, assembly. Hard skills are completely different from soft skills. Unlike soft skills, hard skills can be easily proven in some shape, form, or fashion. They're learned. If you applied to a job that required a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, for example, you could easily prove that you had that requirement by providing a copy of your transcript or your diploma. That is one example of a hard skill, but let's look at a few other examples. Now, we mentioned the degree example a second ago, but here are some other hard skills that you may see on a job posting. All of these can be easily proven on the application. The hard skills will likely land you an interview or even the job, but as you will see, they both work together to ensure workplace success. And because hard skills and soft skills work together, if you do have great communication, if you are very prompt, if you do have great teamwork, but if you don't know what you're doing, it won't matter where you work because obviously you won't be able to work there. But having that hard skill, the certain experience or the diploma connected with having initiative, having dedication, that's what will take you to the next level and help you be great at whatever you do.
So it's important as you gain the hard skills like the degree and the certifications that are required for the workplace to not forget the effort that it takes to improve the soft skills as well. As Caleb mentioned, both hard skills and soft skills are imperative to workplace success. The hard skills may provide us with an opportunity to interview or possibly even land the job. Soft skills, however, allow us to keep our job. We can mention our professional skills in the interview, and some of our skills may even be observed. However, those really have to be observed in the day-to-day process most of the time. We've all likely experienced a coworker with a bad attitude or a boss who maybe lacks effective communication skills. We don't want to be a part of that category.